Hey everybody, it's Durger time. Thank you for joining me for episode 1 of Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. It has been a bit since we have filmed this, and this is actually attempt number 2 at this episode. I did put something out a little bit earlier this week, and then stumbled upon the wildest technical issue. Unfortunately, way too late. When I was editing it, did not notice it until people started to watch the damn thing and found out that the entire video was skipping around. So I was spending so much time trying to figure out what was happening, and I found out that my screen recorder, for some reason, on my laptop, does not like the sound on this game. It is very bizarre. I haven't tested it with Streamlabs. I use a different recording software, and last time I had an older laptop, and it didn't do it during the previews that I was running. So this is a new phenomenon. But what was happening is every time I would click somewhere, and it would make a sound. Not only would it remove my audio, it would skip the video by 3 seconds. Very bizarre. So, what we are doing is we are redoing episode 1. And I had to rebuild yet again this database. So, if you did watch some or subjected yourself to all of the first episode, most of this will be the same, but there will be some minor differences, specifically in the end result of the show. And that's just because some people are available in different configurations than before. So I can't say that we're redoing everything. We're basically kind of just fixing what broke. But there will be some minor differences. So if you did watch it all, you want to skip this one, feel free. If you want to skip ahead to just the actual episode of the Forged in Excellence Night 1, you can see what's changed. Just some minor tweaks. But for the most part, this episode is going to be a redo with hopefully none of those technical snafus that we had in the first attempt. So, with that all said, let's briefly go over what we are doing here today. You saw in episode 0, which was longer ago than I wanted it to be. Unfortunately, just life got in the way. We have Scott D'Amore here, who is running Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, an old territory from the 70s and 80s in Canada. We are trying to bring it back and bring back Canadian wrestling. We are trying to be the Switzerland of pro wrestling. We are going to have people from all companies, if possible, including some people from WWE, from AAA, from CMLL, from New Japan, from AEW, from GCW. Anybody that wants to work with us, we will work with them. So I do have some people in WWE that, because the landscape's so different now, right? The environment is such a wildly different thing. There's WWE workers that are working outside of their company now. So I wanted to reflect that. I do have a very, very small amount of people that are no longer signed to actual exclusive contracts at WWE. I didn't want to go crazy because we could kind of break them, and I don't want to break them to save. I want the save to be relatively realistic. But I do want your ideas. If there are any workers in WWE that you feel would work or have worked outside of the company in this sort of new, like, Triple H era of WWE, where they're not locked down like they used to be as much, right? Let me know in the comments. That's sort of your homework here. I know that, Shinsuke's done some work overseas in Japan. I know I think William Regal's son, whose name's slipping my mind, did some work in Japan as well. Obviously, there's the whole GCW relationship and the TNA relationship, though they're more of a alliance situation now, it kind of feels like. We have that kind of going on, and we want to try to emulate that as best as we can. So I have a handful of people. We have some people that are working on this show, in fact. Well, they might be on this show. We'll have to see. They might be more night 2 than night 1. But I need some more opinions from people that would probably work out there. Now, so that's our first goal as Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, obviously, is be the Switzerland of pro wrestling, elevate Canadian talent where possible. And, of course, we want to crush TNA, our mortal enemy, the thing that we created that was taken from Scott. We are going to avenge him. We're going to burn it down, and we do that by succeeding it in every capacity, stealing their talent, going to war with them, making them rue the day. So, with that said, some changes from episode 0. I added some extra roster members. As you can see, we have 51 workers now, instead of, I think we had 39 or something like that. Some of these are refs. Obviously, they get counted within sort of the active people, I believe. I never actually count, but I feel like the last time I did, that was the case. And a lot of them are teams, because we need more tag teams. I am always the philosophy that we need more tag teams than less to keep the team's situation fresh. Some of these are not going to be very active. So if you do see, we have Fresh Air, which is Junior Benito and McCrae Martin. I'm going to butcher that one. We got, obviously, Kevin Knight and Kushida coming from Japan as intergalactic jet setters. Le Tabernacle de Team, or Le Tabernique. The French, I'm not very good at. Someone in the first attempt at this said this is not de Boy. It's Dubay, I believe, or Dubois, Dubay. I'm still going to butcher it. I know you said it. You'll say it again. I'll get it in episode 3, I swear. And Matthew St. Jacques, something like that. We do have Monster Sauce here, but I doubt that they're actually going to be involved a lot, but I just put them in. Sinner and Saints with Judas Icarus and Travis Williams. The Grizzled Young Vets from AEW coming over to do some work for us. The Von Slashers, which is Cremator Von Slasher, Rhea Von Slasher, and then there's a third Von Slasher, Rigor Von Slasher. And the Voros twins. You guys won. Put stupid. Anyways, so we got that. Otherwise, the rosters, for the most part, there's a few exceptions that we kind of added into the mix, but for the most part, we mostly added teams into the mix of this. We do have our actual titles set up, so the Commonwealth title, the Heavyweight title, the Tag Team title, and the Women's title. The Commonwealth, I don't think I mentioned in the first episode. It's probably not going to come to play yet, but that's our mid-card, and I have a little bit of a stipulation on that, and I think it's interesting. So we'll see as we get through this save. We'll kind of see the Commonwealth title pop up, but that's our secondary title. It is an intergender title, or it's primarily going to be men's, but I'm not necessarily like how TNA was run during the Scott D'Amore days. There's going to be exceptions where it makes sense to do cross-gender stuff and kind of have men and women fight and things like that, where it's appropriate and where it makes sense for a story. So this is an open title. Same thing with our tag titles. That's there also to help us out so that we can kind of make bigger swatches of teams, kind of combinations and things like that, if possible. So, that said, we did talk about the elevating the Canadian talent. That's going to be important because if we look at our creative, one of the issues right now, if we look at our franchise players, we have Konosuke Takeshita basically on loan from AEW, Athena basically on loan from AEW, Josh Alexander, we'll consider a loan from TNA, but we're stealing him where possible. El Phantasmo, another Canadian wrestler, I believe, but obviously essentially on loan from New Japan. And Kushida, not a Canadian wrestler, but on loan from New Japan. So we don't have a lot of our own talent. We have not a lot of next big things. That's probably going to start playing. We got some talkers. We do have a Canadian talent that is our own here with El Leon de Manitoba, the Lion of Manitoba, a famed luchador that will be joining our roster. Ethan Page is not ours on loan from NXT. So again, our goal is to use these talents that we have now. Don't take them for granted and try to elevate some of these Canadian wrestlers that we have that are not uniquely ours, but are ones that we could be primed to capitalize on. And that's definitely going to be a goal for the series here. So with that all said, we do have a night one to go through. We had to split up the event a bit because the availabilities of people just got out of control. I still have some problems where some people could be on night one on Thursday and some people could be on night two on Tuesday, but not everybody. But I had to kind of make it work with the best we could here. Not super thrilled by it. But we'll work with it where we can. And, this might move, the Tuesday might move to Monday. It depends on where I need it. But we had to split up the nights. That's just the reality of where everybody's working everywhere at this point. And being a very, very tiny company at only 17 in Ontario, 7 in Manitoba, we are right at the cusp of tiny. We certainly just simply do not have the leverage that a larger company does. So none of these wrestlers are going to be working and choosing to work for us instead. So they're always going to be working elsewhere, and we're going to have to work around that the best we can. Anyways, that is it for the preamble. Let's get on to night one of Forged in Excellence. All right, night one is here. Let's go ahead and get through some of the event details before we get on to the actual show. Nobody's going to take the night off. I might get morale issues with it, but it's too tedious. Tonight's venue is an interesting one. Now, the actual show was done in, I believe, the St. Clair Sportsplex. That is the old home of TNA in the late 2000s. I guess like late 2010s now, I should say. It's 1,500 people. It's going to cost $750 to run. And we are only looking at a measly 141 fans. In the real world, a show like this on Triller being advertised would have more buzz, more hype, and we would not have just 141 fans. But we are playing the game, so we have to deal with that expectation. I don't want to just waste money, though. The extra capacity is just not going to help us. It is a hotbed, which does help us a little bit. I don't know if it tells us in the new game any specific bed differences to it. But I believe you get a bit of a boost to the show itself for having it. Some places can be defined as wrestling hotbeds. This simulates particular loyal wrestling fans and will result in a small attendance boost. So not actually a boost to the performance of the show, a boost to the attendance of the fans. But, I don't know what that boost percentage is. It's not going to be 1,500. It might be 200. Get 200 fans instead of 141. I don't know if that's really worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and just say pick the best option. It's going to go ahead and give us a generic venue, which is totally fine. I actually hate generic venues, but because we're in Canada, we don't have a lot of options anyways. And, I don't want to waste the money on the table if we don't need to. Go ahead and finalize our deal on Triller. You're going to be looking for 25 for a minimum quality here. That is totally doable. We had to actually lower that from the database. So if you are playing at home and you're modifying and tweaking it, we did have to modify that just a tad. It it seemed a little too high in the Real World Chronicles. I'm sure that was balance issues, so I've probably unbalanced it. But I listen. I've watched some wrestling shows on Triller. I can tell you that the quality is varied. Let's say so. I lowered it a little bit. That is our bar for success. We want to not go lower than that. We are only getting 25% of the revenue going to us, actually, which is not great. Not even a half. So that's a big bummer for us. Most of our money is going to be ticket sales, and yeah. So medium coverage for the U.S., only small also for Canada. Also not going to quite help us because we're not going to get that big pop boost from Canada as much as we're going to be more popular in America at a certain point. We'll deal with it. There's worse things to be, but the American expansions are really not something we're looking at this moment. Booking team meeting, we only have one person in our booking team, and that is me. So Scott generates 90 CE. Now, if you are new to the game, you're watching from 2020 to this one, the Creative Energy is a new feature that will allow you to spend it on a host of things in the game to give a little bit of boost, including adding creative gimmicks, creative finishes, things like that. It's mostly a numerical modifier, and it's going to allow us to kind of tweak things where we see fit. Right now, we have 90 in the bank. Every show requires a minimum in order to actually just operate, and we actually require 80 because we are a 4-hour show right now, and so we only are left with 10, which is not enough to actually really do anything with, anyways. Yeah, so that is kind of what we got here. We can see the tally of where it came from. Locker room incidents. We have no pre-show incidents, which is good. In the first save, we actually had one, so that is nice. We might get a bit of a better score. We have someone showing up. Jonathan Rukin, who's a cousin of Brett Banks, showed up, asked if he might be able to use him tonight. Unemployed worker who happens to live nearby. I don't see a reason why. We have a positive relationship. I'm sure we could find something for him to do, and it might give us a little bit of a positive bonus with one of our workers. So I don't mind that, really. We also have Tommy Billington coming by. He wants a pay raise. On the first show, my dude, you haven't even wrestled yet. Or he is done. He's willing to walk. So we have some more options here. Okay, I'll give you your pay raise. I'll give you half of that raise. No, get the hell out of my office, or you're threatening me. You are fired. I don't want to upset anybody right now. It's only $50. It's not a big deal. Let's go ahead and give him the pay raise. His second cousin, Davey Boy Smith Jr., showed up with a creative finish idea. So we can now add that if we have Davey Boy in a match. And that is it. So we're going to head and address the locker room. We have a whole bunch of new options from 2020, and we are going to use one of the first new options here, which is Inspire, which actually I think was one of the special ones you could get if your booking skill was high enough. Make a big speech. Try and inspire everybody to new heights of the performance tonight. Use sparingly on a receptive audience and it can be very effective, but use too often or to a locker room that has turned against you and it may backfire. Well, there's no better time to rally the troops and tell them to get out there. New show. We're going to show them that Canadian wrestling's back. Let's get out there, show them what we can do. Let's fucking go. And it is gotten the crowd fired up. Everybody in the locker room is excited. Let's fucking go. And absent workers, unfortunately, Gazelle Shaw, who in the first version of this had unfortunately went up all busted. She was in a match, so that's going to be a bit of a problem. We're going to have to work around that and do some things differently, but not a big deal. Otherwise, our absent workers are not, you know, we don't have a huge list here, so things we can work around. But now we got to go ahead, get to the show, get to night one. Let's see what we have in store. We have a lot that we have to get done because we got a bunch of titles. They're not all going to get filled by night two, but we certainly have to set the groundwork for a few things for this show. And night one is mostly going to be about building to the main events of night two. So, with that said, I will catch you guys on the flip for Forged in Excellence. All right, guys, we are back. We are ready for night one of Forged in Excellence. We have 268 minutes. So we had 300 minutes that we could have spent. We spent almost all of it. No pre-show matches. We certainly going to be spending so much money on this show that we do not want to spend any more on pre-show matches. And we got a lot done. So I'm really happy with how this came out. Again, this is the take two. So if you saw the first one, there's a lot the same. I will admit, though, while I tried to keep it pretty similar, I made some tweaks. I actually like this better than the first go-around. So if this is the first time you're seeing this, you're in for a treat, because I think it actually ended up coming out to be a really good show. Will it score well? I don't know. Does it ever with me? But I think in terms of the story and where we're going, I like how this shaped out. So let's go ahead. Let's see what we have in store for us on night one of Forged in Excellence. So starting out, we have Scott D'Amore coming out to the ring. The crowd is obviously excited. We have what do we got? 142 people in the building. So not too bad, but it's this very small crowd is very excited to see the humble beginnings of Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. He announces several things for tonight, because there's a lot to have happen for tonight's show. One, there is a mini tournament with 4 hand-picked opponents that will face each other tonight, and then the finals of that will be on night 2, and that will crown the first ever Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. Well, I should say the first ever of this incarnation of it. Those hand-picked challengers: Josh Alexander, Stu Grayson, the Maharaja, Rajdeshi, and Konosuke Takeshita. In addition, he says, Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling is all about new opportunities. And because of that, there will be a battle royal tonight for a contract to be the next challenger in line for that title. And it can be cashed in anywhere, anytime. So, 2 big things for the heavyweight title. Someone's going to get a challenge, and it can put that challenge into place whenever and wherever. Definitely is going to make it dynamic. But also, we're going to have a champion by the end of night 2. Finally, several matches tonight will happen that are not just for exhibition, but are to fill spots. There are 4 spots in a 4-way on night 2 to crown the new holder of the Champion's Grail. So, we have 3 big things happening during tonight's show. 2 basically tournaments. So I guess one a battle royal, one is a tournament to qualify for major things happening in night 2. This got the show off to a strong start. Scott's great with crowds. He gets a 53 here. He's superb working without a script, and he did his thing and got the crowd hotter. We jump to an interview backstage. Leaving the announce booth is Don Callis, who goes to meet up with his protege, Konosuke Takeshita, both members of, obviously, the Don Callis family in AEW. Backstage, he's being interviewed by Mackenzie Mitchell, who talks up Takeshita's upcoming match, obviously saying, he's going to have a match tonight. How do you feel about his chances of going into the finals on night 2 and potentially becoming the MLP champion? And Callis, obviously, with all the hubris that he carries, says, well, it's not a if, it's a when. And when Takeshita wins, and he will win, he will immigrate to this country. He will live out of my house, and he will be the greatest living Canadian wrestler alive. Because he's already the best wrestler alive, now he will also be the best Canadian wrestler alive. He will be better than Josh Alexander. He will be better than Bret Hart. He'll be better than Kenny by God Omega. He leans in, smirks at the camera, and says, and that's not all. We aren't here representing the Don Callis family. That was your first mistake, Mackenzie. We are representing something more, something new, something bigger. In this new land of opportunity for us, well, opportunity does come a-knocking. It's sometimes new ventures arise from them. I have another project in the ring tonight, a legend of this sport, a new partner, birthed from the hidden springs of Winnipeg, the greatest Canadian luchador alive, El Leon de Manitoba. We formed a partnership that will rock this sport. And by tomorrow night, well, let's just say, everything changes. Don Callis is slimy, and as usual, is up to a lot of stuff. We know he has a new protege, well, not a protege, but a new partner with this masked Canadian luchador legend. And obviously he has his protege, Takeshita, primed to potentially become the new champion, the inaugural champion of this company. This gets a 57, does very well. Callis working very well, going off script and just kind of hamming it up. Takeshita also just doing backstage work, kind of off the camera, but doing well to improvise during the segment, and ultimately it got the crowd hotter. We start the show off for real with a kind of an underwhelming match. It's a wild brawl with the grizzled young vets coming in and defeating the intergalactic jet setters in 13 minutes. James Drake gets the pin here, pins Kevin Knight with a ticket to mayhem. Kevin Knight obviously being the weak link of the 4 here, though not that bad. He's at a 30. It's okay. The rest of them are in basically high 40s, low 50s. They all get pretty good. Well, actually, no. Our referee gets a pretty poor gimmick for referee. It's really bad when your referee apparently can't even rep being a referee. That's pretty bad. But for the most part, everybody else is fine. Grizzly Young Vets get good points for their gimmick here. Afterwards, we have the first match of our our semi-final tournament. It's kind of weird to start a tournament at the semi-finals, but Stu Grayson versus Konosuke Takeshita. It's an exceptional match. Takeshita defeats Stu Grayson in 17 minutes by pinfall with a javelin kick and makes his way in the heavyweight championship tournament. Grayson had a respectable 57. Takeshita just is phenomenal at a 71. Both of them get pretty... Well, actually, sorry, that was just our referee. I was about to say both got very good, but no. Our actual referee got very good ratings for his ref gimmick. Guess he came in with a shirt or something. Obviously, we start a storyline with Don Callis here. We advance it, gains heat from the match. The crowd's pretty into it at a 40. The match itself a 64, and overall gets us a 62. Takeshita moving in to the finals on night 2. Afterwards, we see Takeshita victorious. Obviously, very excited to win. He will be facing the winner of the final match of the night between Josh Alexander and the Maharaja. Stu is battered at the side of the ring, stands up, just dazed, trying to get to his feet, and he looks like he wants more. He's kind of saying to bring it to Takeshita. Takeshita kind of thinks about it. He kind of smirks before just sort of nodding to him and then walking away, letting Stu get a little bit of that local pop from the crowd as he kind of saw, a fan favorite lose but still show a lot of heart, and Takeshita seemingly, respecting the match and respecting him. Gets pretty good. He actually, sorry, I was going to say it was him, but no, it was Takeshita and Callis have good chemistry. Stu, despite not saying anything, struggling to go off script. I forgot to set that as scripted, which really should be the default, but apparently it's not. So, whatever. Next, we have our Battle Royal. This is to determine who gets that number 1 contender's contract for basically in the foreseeable future. This may not be the champion, but this person will be challenging the champion. We have a 10-man Battle Royal. We got Angelo Parker in there. We have Bhupinder Gujjar from TNA. We have Brent Banks. We have Bully Ray. We have from QPW, the Qatar champion, Classy Ali. We have, of course, our very mysterious, very blonde, very masked luchador from Canada, Elion de Manitoba. We have the guy who showed up, who said, hey, can you give me a match tonight? And I was like, sure, why not? Jonathan Rukin gets in the ring. We have Psycho Mike Rollins. We have QT Marshall. And we have the always sneaky Rocky Romero. It's a good match, and it is actually a 42, despite the crowd really struggling here. This was designed to bring them down a little bit, so we try to bring them down. We had some good ratings here for Angelo Parker, and a good debut for our masked wrestler, the Elion de Manitoba. We, of course, we lose some heat. Ooh, that's not good. In the machinations of Don Callis. But, it's fine. It's only the second segment. What happened in this match? Well, QT Marshall gets knocked out the very first thing to a huge pop. Then Bhupinder Gujjar. Then Rocky Romero. Then Psycho Mike. Then Brent Banks. Jonathan Rukin. Thank you, Epic Games, for all those pop-ups. Then Jonathan Rukin, then Bully Ray, and finally Classy Ali, and then Angelo Parker, leaving Elion de Manitoba, our masked luchador from Canada, to win the Battle Royal and get a contract to face the MLP heavyweight champion any place, anytime. We bring the crowd down a little bit here. Afterwards, Don Callis jumps out from the announce table, running down to his new prized partner and lifts the hand of the Canadian luchador, the greatest Canadian luchador ever to wrestle. Just don't tell that to El Generico, unless it is El Generico. We don't know who this person is, or adorned by this red maple leaf on his lucha mask. He is given a clipboard with an official MLP logo on it. He signs it. It is now the number 1 contender's shot at the heavyweight title. He can cash it in at any time. Don Callis gets to the camera, barking at it like a psycho that he is. Goes, this guy, he's unstoppable. You better watch it all. So we have a budding partnership with his new prospect, potential new member of the Don Callis family. Though he says it's something new. He says it's not the Don Callis family. He says it's some kind of new venture here. He gets a 69. They do very well here. They're improvising, working very well. And we gain heat for the Don Callis story here. Afterwards, we have the first in our qualifiers for the Champions Grail. Alex Zane defeats Rohit Raju in 14 minutes after pinning him with a 630 senton. This is a high spot match. The crowd is simmering. We might have cut him down too much, which is a bit of a problem here. Alex Zane also off his game, weirdly, with a 36. Rohit Raju with a 42. So a little weird there. Our ref, don't worry. Another ref in here, and he's okay. So we got a great rating for our referee, because that's what really matters. Great chemistry between Rohit Raju and Alex Zane, so that's always great to see. We kind of put that in our back pocket in case we need it in the future. Wrestling was a 39. Crowd rating really killed us at an 18, leaving us with a pretty lackluster 35. But Alex Zane gets golden ticket number 1, if you will, and is the first of 4 contenders for the Champions Grail for night 2. Backstage, we meet up with Classy Ali in his private locker room. Classy is very upset. He's furious about losing to Battle Royal. He's holding his QPW Qatar Championship, and he's barking at the camera. He says, I flew 12 hours to get here on my private jet. I canceled business deals just to make sure I had time free for both nights. And now what? I have to pack it up? Go home over a fluke? No, I'm not done here. We have a second night, and I have a title. Anybody that wants a shot gets it. But be warned, I got some pent-up feelings after tonight that I need to work through. Bully Ray comes into frame. He's also angry. Mostly, he's angry that Classy Ali was the one that cheaply threw him out of the ring. And he makes no bones about it that he definitely blames Classy Ali for cheating him out of the MLP contract here. He accepts the challenge, gets in real close, and smiles devilishly. He goes, oh yeah, it's on. But just to let you know, yeah, I have plenty to work through myself. He pats the brass of the title of the Qatar Championship with one hand so stiffly that it stumbles Ali back as he walks away. This gets the crowd back in. He's hotter. So there's a 2-part segment. 26 for part 1, 33 for part 2. It leaves us at a 28 for the segment overall. Afterwards, we get Athena entering the arena, and she's interviewed by Mackenzie, who catches up with her. Athena's sporting the ROH Women's title over her shoulder, and she smugly announces that she's not just here to watch, she's here to prove a point. She says, I'm already the most dominant women's wrestler working today. And this reign isn't stopping anytime soon. But I need people to know that whether it's in Japan, or it's in Mexico, or it's in the US, and especially now in the Great White North here, nobody is on my level. So I'm putting out a challenge tonight. Bring your best, but don't miss your shot, because the forever champion certainly won't. And then she walks away. She improvised well, using subtle mannerisms to hint there's a little bit of a heel there. Little goody two-shoes Athena's maybe not coming to play up in Canada. Instead, she's got an axe to grind. Everybody seems to have an axe to grind on this show. Nobody seems that happy, but they're all looking for that new opportunity that MLP provides. We have a tag match between Le Tabernacle, the team, and the Voros twins. And unsurprisingly, in 6 minutes, Tabernacle just beats the shit out of the Voros twins. We got a submission on Patrick Voros. It is a car crash stunt show. Tables are coming out. Everything's coming out. It's exactly what you would expect. Crowd rating, crowd's heat at the end is hot. We're getting them back hot here. The crowd rating itself for the match, meh. Wrestling rating is actually pretty good at a 40. Gets us a 34. It's not the best, but it's fine. Thomas DeBoy, I think. Someone's gonna correct me again. DeBoy, Dubois, something. I will get it. I will get it right. I swear. And then Matthew St. Jacques had a in-ring performances in the low to mid 40s, which is actually pretty good. The Voros twins also, honestly, shockingly respectable. I didn't expect them to be even this high. So for our jobbers, not bad. Everybody did pretty good in their gimmicks. We start a storyline with Tabernacle here. And I've got a crowd buzzing. Wow, I'm actually shocked. I didn't expect this match to go down so well at all. Afterwards, the Tabernacle decides to make a point that you don't get out of a match with them. If you get in, this is the result. And they make it known. There are chairs that are thrown, tables that are broken, bodies that are left broken as well. The Vinky boys get slaughtered here and left to be decimated and just be picked up by staff as the Tabernacle team end up leaving the ring, presumably making the statement that this will happen to everybody that steps into the ring with them. This ultimately gets a 34. Not bad. Tommy Billington versus Jake Something in the second of our Champions Grail qualifiers. Good wrestling, had decent heat. The crowd's actually white hot by the end of this match. This is a storytelling match, so we're trying to cool it down a little bit at this point. But they're white hot, which might be a problem for us going into the main events because we still have a couple matches to go. Wrestling was a 42. Crowd was a 23, and the segment ultimately got a 36. Hard part with this game is learning how to balance that crowd rating with the wrestling rating. We're going to have to kind of learn that as we go. Tommy had a 38. Jake Something, wow, with a 47. Doing great out there. Dynamite Kid gimmick got adequate. That's fine. Got the crowd even hotter, and Jake Something moves on to be the second of the four in the Champions Grail 4-way. Afterwards, we clean up the ring a little bit. We get a little bit of downtime. We get Tommy backstage, a little character moment where we see him licking his wounds after that loss, upset in the locker room. And we get a quick little pop as into frame in the camera. We see Davey Boy Smith Jr., who shows up, warmly embraces him, goes, "Hey, cousin, how you doing?" Davey tries to talk to him, sort of an older mentor family relationship. Obviously, the two of them, I believe their fathers were cousins, so they're second cousins, and had British Bulldogs, right? So there's some connection there. Davey Boy Smith trying to be sort of the mentor in this relationship and trying to give him some advice, saying, I saw what happened in the match. I had some ideas I could work through here with you, but you did good. Tommy just not now, and he just walks away. And we see in the camera that Davey Boy Smith Jr. is really upset by this. He's disrespectful. You can see it in his eyes, and those eyes are just staring just burning holes in the back of Tommy as he walks away. So we're seeing some trouble brewing here in the Bulldog pen, right? And we'll have to see how that relationship evolves as they're both now in Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. Segment though doesn't do great. Gets a 29. And Davey Smith Jr. also his gimmick debut. We're gonna have to handle that. He had an awful for his gimmick. Definitely gonna have to look at changing that. That I could deal with adequate, but oof, that's gonna hurt. Mike Bailey versus Sheldon Jean in a high spot match does really well. The crowd dipped a little bit. They're very hot, which actually is okay because we don't want them to be white hot for long. Mike Bailey defeats Sheldon Jean in 14 minutes by pinfall, gives him a shooting star knee drop, and does really well. Exactly what you would expect here from him. He's got a 60. Sheldon Jean with a respectable 30. I think we could actually build him up to do pretty well. Crowd rating, it's 28. Wrestling rating, 45. And segment rating actually is a 46. It's kind of weird how that works out. Again, you would think it would be an amalgam of this, but we got a 46 with it. So overall, really good. Mike Bailey now the third person to qualify for the Champions Grail, leaving one spot remaining that will be decided tonight. But before that, we have a tag team trios match, an exhibition match here, just to give them something to do. We got the Von Slashers versus Fresh Air versus Sinner and Saint from TNA. And in a surprise upset, the Von Slashers defeat Fresh Air and Sinner and Saint in 12 minutes. Cremator Von Slasher pinned Judas Icarus with an incinerator. The crowd, woof, this rating is low. But again, segment rating is actually pretty good, and the wrestling rating is pretty good. Ultimately, the 41 for the segment and 40 for the wrestling. In-ring performance, Cremator here, not great with a 25. Rhea showing some promise with a 30. And everybody else is doing great. Junior Benito, really good at a 56. Marquet Martin at a 37. Travis Williams at a 47. And Judas at a 47 as well. And for the most part, the gimmicks are okay. So we did get a poor in here, but everybody else got a pretty good one here. Cremator here is off his game, so we don't know what the future holds here for Cremator with that 25, but maybe it'll be a little bit better. Ethan Page, for some reason, being a road agent for us while backstage, is letting us know that Travis Williams was angry after the match, upset that Cremator almost injured him with a botched move. Afterwards, the other teams leave, and then Rigor, who was at ringside, comes in to join the Von Slashers. They end up all walking back out to the backstage. The camera's following them. They actually kidnap the cameraman. They grab him and they pull him in to a corner as they were walking. That's all dark. They find like the darkest part of the room. Rigor stands, or Rigor, I don't know. We're going to have to decide what that actually says. Rigor stands in the front of the group here. Rhea on the side, Cremator hovering ominously, and then his eyes piercing into the soul of the viewers at home through the camera. He says, "There's a lot of hope here in Maple Leaf Pro. That's a dangerous thing. See, hope raises you up before an inevitable fall. And we are inevitable. Understand that there's a reckoning coming. You can smell it in the air, drifting slowly in. All that hope, all those smiles, are going to wash away as the sands of time slip away. And the rot in this building is revealed to everyone. So, the Von Slashers are saying there's something sinister going on in MLP, and it's not just them. And they're going to reveal it. They're going to help reveal it. We got, ladies and gentlemen, you know me. I needed to. We got ourselves a creepy cult. I needed it. I can't help but not have one creepy cult in any of my saves. We got the Von Slashers, or a Canadian cult, here for us. Unfortunately, the segment is dog shit. Rigor gets a pretty good rating for the devil himself as a gimmick here. And we do have our storyline lose heat. Does not do well without a script to follow. Again, a mistake on my part. His mic work, in our scouting, it don't look bad. So we'll have to take a look and see if he was scripted, if he would do better. But we got ourselves a cult, ladies and gentlemen. I am excited about that. But unfortunately, based on this rating, nobody else was. We have a women's exhibition match between Miyu Yamashita, Harley Cameron, and Lainey Luck. This match isn't great. I tried to use this to give the rub to Lainey Luck a bit, and I don't know about it. Miyu Yamashita and Harley Cameron lose. Lainey Luck defeats both of them. Lainey Luck pins Miyu Yamashita, illegally using the ropes for leverage. Match was designed to calm the crowd down just a little bit, be simmering them down a little bit here before the main events. And obviously Miyu carried in terms of in-ring performance. We certainly see that with a 54. Harley and Lainey at a 25. But, you gotta give them wins in order to build them up like this. So, crowd rating's not great. Wrestling rating's not great. Gives us a segment rating that's also not great. Our final of our Champions Grail qualifiers, we have Aiden Prince versus El Phantasmo. Gets the crowd hot and rising, which is perfect right before our main events. And it's great wrestling, had good heat. El Phantasmo defeats Aiden Prince in 14 minutes with a pinfall after a CR2. The match was designed so the wrestlers could go out and try to steal the show. And they do great. Aiden Prince has a really respectable 40. Phantasmo with a great 58. I think we're going to do great things with Phantasmo. So excited that he's in this promotion, and I think we definitely have a great all-arounder in our hands there. Got the crowd buzzing. Crowd ratings at a 26. Wrestling ratings at 49. Segment rating at a 41. And Aiden, again, despite at 40, was off his game too. So we haven't seen the full potential here yet. And finally, we get a quick video package that apparently does not do very well. But this is just to highlight the 4 contenders here. We got Jay Something, Mike Bailey, El Phantasmo, Alex Zane. We get a little history of the title too, which obviously it's a weird one. Ricky Dozon was gifted it in Japan, then he died. It was a family heirloom before gifted to somebody else, and then put back up as a challenge in a match that Kenny Omega won in Canada, which was never aired on TV. It was for some promotion that never actually happened, and it was retired again until being brought back, and now one of these 4 men will hold the Champions Grail by the end of Night 2 of Forged in Excellence. We have an entrance from Athena, who makes a dramatic one for the co-main event. Metallic wings on her, lifting up with lights. The fallen angel is here. She stares down towards the entranceway as she gets into the ring, waiting for who her opponent will be. And Kylie Rae has come out to cheers to accept the challenge. Part 1, which was Athena's entrance, is a 49, and Kylie Rae's pop gets a 32. And again, despite apparently just walking to the ring, struggled to do well without a script. I have to remember to put the script down for everything. Always my bad habit. I wish there was a way to set it so that it defaulted to scripted first. This ultimately gets a 44. Not too bad. The match itself, pretty good. Actually, really good. 50 for the wrestling match. Athena had a 59. Kylie Rae has a 40. Crowd rating was very hot at the end with a 31, and leaves us with a respectable 45. It's a superb match. Athena defeats Kylie Rae in 15 minutes by submission. Athena's in amazing form, and commentary helped lift the match and elevate it. Afterwards, we have Athena extending a hand to Kylie Rae. The fans love Kylie Rae here, and she wants to show her that code of honor that she represents by being the ROH Women's Champion. She shakes her hand. Kylie Rae smiles, but that smile fades quickly as she tries to get away and realizes that Athena will not let go of her hand. Athena grabs her hand by both hands and throws her down, gets on top of her, starts beating her up and slashing at her, and just, doing the thing where you're just kind of bouncing her head on the mat. The bell's being rung repeatedly. She still continues being absolutely vicious. No one is stopping her. The only thing that does stop her is the lights going out in a video on the Titantron playing. And of course, we do want to turn Athena at this point. Go ahead and turn her. We are getting face Athena here for sure. This obviously gets a 45. We have, despite not being here, the best we could do was get a video package. In the video package, we have a pitch black room and just a dim light on concrete below. We hear footsteps of high heels echoing in probably like a garage or something, a warehouse. The echoes getting louder as the footsteps get closer, and we see a woman entering the frame in the dim light of the camera. It pans up from the floor, revealing Gazelle Shaw. She stares intently at the camera towards Athena in the ring. Obviously, this is recorded first, but wrestling's predetermined, so we have the ability to record this first, knowing that she wouldn't be here today. Without saying a word, she unfolds a paper and shows it to the screen, kind of moving it along so you can kind of see the camera one step at a time. It has two logos on it, Maple Leaf Pro's logo and AEW's logo. Below it, it says Official Fight Contract, Ring of Honor Title Contract, Forged in Excellence, Night 2. The screen cuts to black. Athena looks furious. It seems like her boss has partnered with Scott to put up a title contract on Night 2. So, Gazelle Shaw versus Athena Night 2 is now going to happen for the title. Not really, because we don't have access to her title. But, we can kayfabe it, just like they can kayfabe it down there. It gets a 29, unfortunately. It just doesn't do very well. That's unfortunate to see. Josh Alexander makes his way to the ring, gets in there for his entrance. He's ready to challenge in the semifinals and in the main event of tonight. Obviously, whoever gets this wins goes on to face Takeshita and ultimately will become the champion. So stakes are high for Night 1's main event. The camera cuts to the backstage where we see in what I'm calling the wrestler's angle, the viewing position where you stand facing the camera but somehow also watching the TV screen. We see NXT champion Ethan Page, who I think is NXT champion at this point. In the save, he certainly is. He actually probably lost it. I don't remember when he loses it. But in our save, he is NXT champion still. Watching the feed from TV, he is smiling. He's there to support an old friend. And it's, gets the crowd pumped. And it also just kind of speaks to the no man's land of MLP. Everybody could be here. Doesn't matter who's on this show. Scott is trying to make it Switzerland, so Ethan Page is here to support Josh. Crowd pops big. Unfortunately, that pop does not increase our segment rating, though Ethan Page does get a very good for his all-ego gimmick. And, actually fantastic. Again, improvised. I should have scripted it, but the Maharaja Rajdeshi manages to use the off-script nature of his unspoken segment. It does pretty well. The Maharaja makes an entrance fit for his ego. He is carried down the entranceway with on a regal palki palanquin, which is those sort of royal, like, I don't know how to best describe it. It's like carriage that is held by people and carried down. He's carried down by several robed servants that get him to the ring, and he gets into the ring. Obviously, very confident that he will win. He's coming here as royalty. He clearly is looking to make MLP his sort of fiefdom, and the only thing that stands in his way is Josh Alexander, the walking weapon himself. And it was a great match. It's a technical masterclass, had fantastic heat, had great wrestling. Unfortunately, crowd was a little rowdy. We could have got higher. I was hoping that they were simmered down by now. It's a 20-minute match. Josh Alexander does defeat Rajdeshi with a Pearl River plunge. This was obviously part of the tournament, which means that Josh now moves on to face Takeshita in night 2. Josh had a 63. Rajdeshi had a 40. And yeah, I mean, not bad. Wrestling was a 41. Crowd ratings 42. Gets us a 47. Could be better for our main event, but, again, our baseline is anything above 25, really. So we're actually hitting way above our our standing at this point for the show. So I can't complain about that much at all. Afterwards, we end the show with Rajdeshi being carried back on his little throne and carried by his servants away to regroup and figure out what this means for him. Josh celebrates to a hot crowd who's excited to see him win here and excited to see what's to come for him on night 2. His eyes catch the entrance ramp, and he sees Konosuke Takeshita standing there, staring him down from across the way. The two stare down at each other. A fight does not break down, but we do have, to end the show, just sort of the two opponents for the main event of night 2 staring down upon one another. Gain heat for Don Callis' storyline here. Gets a 56, and it's showing a pretty good note. And overall, show's 49. That's great. We increase our popularity in 31 regions. We do look worse because of some broadcast quality stuff, but man, we'll look at it on probably episode 2, but there's no way we're spending that money to boost this. So we're going to take that L. We probably would have been a 53 if not for this. So, oh well, we'll live with it. Overall, though, great show. Let's go ahead and address the locker room. Trying to think of who to talk to. I mean, I think you just got to do Rajdeshi. Let's give them both for a great main event. Praise them both. They did great. Let's get that boost. Financial report, we spent a lot of money. Our pay-per-view sales are abysmal. We're only getting 25% here. Ticket sales, also not much better. I might have to look at upping the pay-per-view revenue. It really, I think I thought I had set it to 40%, which tends to be the standard. So I don't know what happened there, but 25% is really low. So that's going to hurt us. Ticket sales are not much better. Obviously, there's no broadcast revenue because we weren't broadcast anywhere. And merchandise being sold at the show, I mean, actually pretty impressive. Every single person that was at that show bought a t-shirt. 142 or just dollars. That'd be really impressive if 142 t-shirts were sold. That's probably like 10 t-shirts. Not bad. Worker costs, very high. Show costs, very high. Marketing, not that high. Leaves us with an expensive show. So based on this, we're going to have to see how much money we're bringing in on the month-to-month from the sort of general sponsors bucket. That's going to determine how many shows a month we run. I was hoping maybe we would do 2, like a lesser show and then a big show, but we might only be able to run 1 to just financially keep ourselves afloat as we build ourselves up. Pop recap, big boost everywhere except for British Columbia. Ontario, well, we're all looking the same here. We got some boost in North America here in the US, where the majority of our viewers probably are, actually. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. A little bit in Japan, a little bit in Mexico as well, and obviously for this Triller, not really. It's all focused for the US, so we don't have a international deal, which is something we might want to look at for additional revenue. All right, guys, we can look at some mail. Anything in the news going on here? Dick Tojo retiring, and not really much else going on. And Night One figures, about 3,500 viewers. So, not horrible. Not too horrible at all. I'll certainly take that. Obviously, we do not have anybody in our inner circle yet, but we will probably look at that in the future. Same thing with our booking team. We don't have anybody there yet. And we will certainly have to keep an eye out on those finances because that's going to be the trick for ours. Right now, we are 64th in the world, so we have to keep that money from completely depleting as much as we can here, and hopefully we can do that and keep ourselves afloat before we drown in our sorrows here with our money. That hopefully we can at least get ourselves up to a more stable size, because we are spending a lot of money on the roster. So but sometimes you have to spend money to make money, right? That was it for episode 1. Hope you guys liked it. Again, if you watched the first attempt at this, I apologize for all the technical snafus, but thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for letting me know about it. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed it better if you watched it. If you watched both, you guys are sickos, but I appreciate you out there. And for all those sickos, I'll see you next time. Have a great one.